Luke, first of all, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. You're one of the best athletes Salisbury has seen. You're one of the most decorated Division three athletes in history. But thank you for taking the time. I know there's a little bit of a time change we have to deal with whenever we talk to you. So I think it's a cool thing to kind of check up on you and see how you're doing. How you been holding up so far during the quarantine, the lockdown, the crazy 2020?
Yeah, 2020 has definitely been an interesting year for me, but I think with all of the given circumstances, I've done pretty well. It's always hard when you have a pandemic, in the midst of everything that's going on right now. But I think I've been handling it pretty well. I think we got also pretty lucky with the whole situation with training, um, and just like where we're situated in Germany, what we're able to access in the meantime as far as like training facilities and having the tests and having the airport so close to us, and able to get those tests and see if you're healthy and if you're able to kind of move to these different areas to keep training basically.
For sure.
Good. It's been an interesting ride, but I can say I'm corona free at the moment, so that's I think the most important thing.
Exactly. That's definitely the most important thing. We'll talk about you've been training so far during this crazy time and during your time in Germany in a little bit. But let's start kind of before your time in Salisbury. You grew up outside of Frederick. Uh, a Maryland kid. What kind of got you started in doing track, and what kind of got you involved in track and field?
I think that had a lot to do with my childhood, just being such an active kid. I was always wanting to do sports. I was always playing sports, always outside, whether it was hanging out with friends and playing different sports or just kind of hanging out. But we were always kind of in that mood or in that area where we could just go outside and have fun. And I think that kind of transferred over into sports because I was also really just a competitive dude. And that was kind of like that was my thing growing up. I loved to not even challenge myself, so to speak, but to go against other people and kind of see where you stand and above all just have fun with it. So I kind of just got into that kind of competitive lifestyle from an early age. And growing up or going into high school, I played basketball and soccer for my first year, for my freshman year. And Coach Lawson at the time, the coach for the Brunswick track and field team, he came to me earlier and wanted me to join the team and run track because we knew each other beforehand. He was always a part of the relay teams for the middle school track and field events that we had. And the first year I didn't do it. I don't know why. I think I just kind of avoided it and wanted a stress-free summer, basically.
Yeah,
Uh, but coming around to my sophomore year, things got a little bit more serious. And yeah, I just kind of gravitated towards track and field. I can't really say what brought me in the first place, but I think that's kind of where it started. And he immediately put me to the hurdles. It was kind of like you look tall, you're pretty lanky, and you can move a little bit, you can do the hurdle. So at that point, I really didn't have an option, but I think it worked out in the end for me. So I definitely have him to thank for that.
So at what point did you realize you could go to college and do it, in the intercollegiate level? And also how did you get kind of interested in Salisbury?
So at the time, I was really open to playing a sport at the college level, but it wasn't specifically track and field. I just wanted to go to school, I wanted to study and play a sport at the same time. I wanted that student athlete lifestyle. And I think for me that was a no brainer since growing up with sports, it was always just part of me. So of course I wanted to take that to the next level. And as far as colleges looking at me for track and field or any other sport for that matter, it didn't really happen for me. I think a lot of athletes in my position get a lot of letters from different colleges, but they're kind of just like those introductory letters to show they basically show that you have interest or that they have interest, and they're looking to kind of see if you want to gravitate towards this college or this college. But it wasn't really like a you should come run for us or you should come play basketball for us. So deciding for a college was more so the environment, and really how I kind of gravitated towards Salisbury would have been for me. Um, at the time, I spoke with Coach Jones. I spoke with Coach McRae, also at the time the assistant coach. And at that moment, I just felt kind of at home. It sounds kind of cliche to say, but I feel like for me, Salisbury was a perfect fit. And at that time, I wasn't looking to become a professional. That wasn't really my mindset. It was more so getting an education, building relationships and friendships with people. Yeah, and just having a good 4 years. But as that time progressed, I really kind of realized through my sophomore year that it was something that I could, really cultivate and kind of push myself to higher limits and, go to these more advanced races and go against people who were more at my level at the time. So it was more so around sophomore year where I really kind of thought about, taking this professionally or even, making the Olympics.
When you're a freshman, sophomore, you have your growing pains a little bit. How long did it take you to kind of get comfortable on campus and comfortable around the team and your classmates?
As far as my teammates, I think it happened pretty quickly. I think that's more so because of what Coach Jones did at the beginning. This introductory meeting basically with all the athletes, and there you kind of get to know each other a little bit. And I think in my case, and for a lot of people's cases, you kind of just end up in these social circles. And it's usually with your teammates, and of course outside you have your classmates and such. But I think for me, it kind of worked perfectly. It wasn't really where I had to try, to make friends or really try to fit into one group or another. It just kind of happened perfectly. So I think that was also it was great for Coach Jones to do, and I think this is what a lot of coaches do, just kind of this introductory meeting. So it was really helpful for me just to kind of get situated. And I think it only took maybe a couple months before you really get in the groove of things. And yeah.
So you talked about in your sophomore year, you kind of had those thoughts of I could do this professionally. But looking back to your freshman year, you were an All American in your first meet in the 60-meter hurdles, and then you won your first national championship in the 110 at the end of the outdoor meet at the end of your freshman year. You know, it's tough. It's tough for people to win national championships. It's tough to people even to qualify for those national meets. Once you got that taste of victory, taste of All American national championship, what kind of kept you going? What kind of kept you motivated and to continue to excel and be one of the nation's best?
I think for me at that time, winning my first championship, it kind of more or less came as a surprise to me. Getting All American in the 60-meter hurdles during the indoor season was really nice and also something that came somewhat unexpected for me. But to go out there in the outdoor season and win kind of just ignited something in me, and I love that feeling. I love being on the top, really the top of the peak. You go to the national meet and your thoughts always to win, always to come out on top, even if it doesn't look like it. And to stand there at the end of the day as a freshman, I think that really put the bigger picture in my head, thinking like, oh wow, I could do this for 3 more years if I really put in the work, put in the time, and the effort. So that really kind of ignited me to kind of just stay on top, which I think was a little bit hard at the time, given the pressure and winning so early. But luckily, I think I really adapted well to that situation. It was something. The feeling was so great for me that it was a no-brainer that I wanted to keep going and see, you know, basically push the limits and see how far I could take it.
you know, when you kept winning your national championships, you had your thoughts of becoming a professional at right around your sophomore year. Uh, at what point did you kind of realize, hey, I can do this. I can go for the Olympics. I can uh, become a professional. What was kind of that trigger point? You said it happened during your sophomore year, but what kind of made it stuck out to you?
Definitely the national meet and outdoors my sophomore year because at that time I won the 110 hurdles and the 400 hurdles. And also in times that I really didn't expect at that time as well. I think in the 110 hurdles, I ran maybe like 13.8 seconds. So under the 14 barrier was already kind of a sign for me to, you know, it's kind of puts you in this other category, in my opinion, for hurdlers. And reaching the under 51 mark in the 400 hurdles was also really special for me. And I kind of put it this way that I was able to win in two, I would say, very different events. So I always thought that I had at least the basically like the basics that a lot of professional athletes have or need. And I think at that point I knew I could push myself in either one direction or the other, and that I could even improve myself more because I feel like as far as 110 hurdles and 400 hurdles, I was also doing relays and stuff like that. it really puts your body in really different areas, and every event really requires you to do a lot of different stuff. And you need like a lot of different, yeah, a lot of different strengths, a lot of different types of endurance, so to speak. So I think it was definitely after winning that I knew I could put myself specifically in one of these areas and be above average. So that's my goal at least is to be above average.
And I'm sure you've definitely done that so far. Well, what was your favorite? Was hurdles your favorite event, or did you like doing the relays and the sprints?
The relays do have a special place in my heart because it's one of those things. It's at the end of the meet, everyone's watching, and sometimes it really comes down as far as points and team championships go. It really in some situations depends on the relay and who wins it. So that was always an exciting event for me. But between the hurdles, I was always a fan of the 110 hurdles, more so because it was quicker.
Yeah.
You didn't really feel that pain with 400 hurdles, but as time went on, I kind of realized also that I was better in the 400 hurdles, and as much as I tried to deny it, it just didn't really work out for me. And it's something that I kind of gained respect for over the years and what it really takes to be a 400 hurdler. So if you were to ask me now, 400 hurdles is definitely my favorite event, but back then it was looking different.
No, I totally get that. To be honest with you, I was actually a distance runner back in the day in high school, but obviously things have changed since then. But anyways, what was something that Coach Jones? What any sayings or techniques that Coach Jones that kind of stuck out to you that kind of kept you in this mindset of continuing to be great?
The first one that comes to mind off the top of my head is keep the faith. I think that was one of his favorite sayings, and it definitely rang true for me because as far as being a college athlete and being under Coach Jones, there was a lot of times that I just doubted myself, especially in races where maybe I was disqualified or maybe I just didn't run to the best of my ability. And I knew at that point that it was everything that happened was because of me and that I didn't either execute perfectly or for whatever reason it was. But, Coach Jones was always there, and we always had that relationship where we could talk openly, about the results and how I felt as an athlete and how he felt as a coach. And I think that was one of the key things to my success in Salisbury. But just having this relationship with Coach Jones and being able to kind of not just bounce ideas off each other, but just to support each other as well. And of course, he's a coach. He's also in this area of helping athletes, and he was an athlete before too. So it's good to have someone who really understands the ins and outs of track and field and what athletes are going through.
I'm glad that he's been a great, good mentor for you. You took a year off after graduation to kind of assess your goals and assess your abilities. What'd you do during that time to kind of keep you focused?
So at that time, I was still in Salisbury, and I was still training at the track, and I was trying to balance a part-time job. I was a physical therapist assistant down the street, and I was just trying to, make enough money to support myself and to train to the best of my ability and stay on that level. Because I think that's where a lot of problems arise when people, have to balance sports and their daily life. If they're not able to just focus on sports solely, then it kind of gets difficult. Because then you're putting energy in this direction and this direction, and at some point life just gets the best of you. And you get too occupied. So for me, it was kind of like spend as little as time in Salisbury as possible, but it was more so because of the situation I was in, working almost half the day and then going straight to the track and then straight to the weight room. So I think for me it was mostly just kind of sucking up, so to speak, because I knew at the end of the tunnel there was there was a bigger place for me. There's a better place where I can really flourish and shine, and just focus on being a better athlete. And eventually that came. I think that was back in May or June of 2017. But that's actually when I excuse me when I went to Germany for the first time. I kind of met with different coaches, checked out the facilities and everything like that, and then I eventually landed with my coach now in Frankfurt. So it
So,
was mostly just
oh,
staying confident, staying having the faith basically, and just staying strong and not giving up.
moving to Germany probably was obviously such a life changing event for you. Uh, how long did it take you to kind of get used to the being in a foreign country?
Yeah, it definitely took me a long time, and I think that was for a lot of reasons. But I think the biggest one was just the fact that you go into you're more or less a foreign land, and you don't have any of your friends or your family there, so you're really almost starting back from zero as far as all that is concerned. It's basically building yourself back up and getting comfortable with the culture and with speaking with different people that you don't really know before. I think that's always the hardest part, whether it's moving to a different country or to a different city. It's just rebuilding these, or not rebuilding, but finding these new friendships and people that you can surround yourself around to make it worthwhile.
How's your German?
German's pretty good, I have to say. I'm not ashamed to say it. At the beginning, it was a little rough. It was a little rough, but like everything, I kind of put some time into it, more than the average person probably should. But in the end, it was really helpful. I think it was one of those things that I had to do more or later is to improve my German. And then it really worked out for me. That was always hard to handle in the beginning, just adjusting to this new lifestyle and not speaking English 24/7. But I think it definitely worked out for me in the end. I'm glad that I put so much time um, into just my lifestyle, learning German, and building these friendships that I have today.
Take us through like a typical day of training. Do your coaches speak English to you, or they speak German to you?
Just German,
Just German.
my coach. And then it kind of gets tricky with different athletes because a lot of, I would say almost 90% of the German population knows at least a little bit of English. And more with the younger population, they're really fluent in English. So that kind of made the process also a little easier. If there's like a word I didn't know in English, or maybe like I just couldn't put a sentence together, we could always switch back and forth English, German, have like a little bit of English in between. Um, but yeah, as far as like a day goes for me, I think it's pretty. There's a lot of order, I would say. So from waking up, eating breakfast at a specific time, making sure that my body's ready to go before the training. Yeah, this pretty standard throughout the day, which I like too. I like having this order and this rhythm that you're used to. For example, for me, every day training's at 10 o'clock, and that usually goes either from 1:30 to 2 o'clock. And it depends on the day, too, and what we're doing and what training cycle we're in. But I leave that to my coach to decide what we're going to do for that day. But yeah, we're usually out there for 4 hours usually. And I think that surprises a lot of people because they usually think, like in college, maybe it's 1.5 to 2 hours. But as far as the professional side goes, you put in a lot of time on the track and off the track. And I think that's also something that takes up a lot of my day is just preparing my body either for the next day or just regenerating from the training in general. So as far as the afternoon goes, it's kind of more open to be able to do what you want. But in order to stay at that level to maintain your fitness, you have to do all the extra work, and that kind of includes either stretching or you're using different, I say, machines, so to speak, to help with the regeneration process, stuff like that, or maybe extra core work during the night. So during the day, it's more so your official training, and in the afternoon is basically what you decide to do with your time. And I think that really separates the good athletes from the bad athletes.
Now, do you have any like athletic trainers or physios or anything like that to kind of help you with the recovery process after obviously a pretty hard day of training?
Oh yeah, most definitely. So where we train at is also more of like an open area training facility, and there's sponsored physical therapists there. We have ice baths, for example. We have a lot of stuff that we can use at our disposal, which is also really nice because you really get that professional feeling. And some of these stuff that they have is the stuff that you wish that you had when in college. More mainly Division 3, but it's really a game changer. And some of the stuff like I've never even heard of before or seen before. So it's also for me it was like a learning process and getting used to all these different things that you're able to do for your body. So it's been a really great experience. Just kind of finding this untapped area of track and field that I didn't really know before.
Let's go into your career, professional career a bit. You were the German champion in the 400 hurdles back in 2017. Then you moved on to the Euros, where you finished ninth, and World Championships, I believe, was last year, and you made it to the semifinals in that. Uh, Tell me what the competition was like at that level. Was there a lot of change from a, let's say, a national championship meet back when you were in Salisbury to uh, preparing for the Euros or the World Championships? Was there a different kind of mindset you kind of had to take in order to prepare for those meets?
Um, Most definitely a little bit. As far as my mindset goes, from going to a race, I always want to put myself in a position to win. So I'm always thinking when I'm going against other people, that I'm going to win. And I think that transfer over into the race and what you do during the race. And I think there's also a really fine line between being confident and being realistic. So I try to balance the line and be honest with myself and be honest with my abilities. In college, I think that was more so the case that I wouldn't say that I had less stress, but just basically from the results back then, I think it was a lot easier, to win the championship. Whereas I'm running against professional people now, and it may just be a regular track meet, so to speak, and these guys are in front of me, and that's basically a feeling you have to get used to because I think losing you can't really prepare yourself for losing unless you've experienced it yourself, and I think that's also something that motivates me because there's always someone ahead of you, whether it's the German championships or there's the European championships or the World championships. There's always the chance for someone else, um, to take your spot or to be in the race, and that's something you realize more as you race more races and you see these more professional or these faster people. Um, so back then it was definitely more, I would say, laid back, but now it's a lot more, being honest with yourself and being ready to run against these guys who might be ahead of you for the whole race. But it makes you a better athlete. It makes you a better person. It humbles you, but it also pushes you further because you want to be at the top at the end of the race. So it's definitely a great experience all around, just to kind of have someone humble you, even if it's for one race or two races.
We talked a little bit at the beginning of our talk about 2020, having a quarantine and pandemic. As a result, the 2020 Olympics were postponed a year. Has that changed any of your training, any of your preparations to try to get to the Olympics with the change in obviously a year from now, making sure that you're ready for that time?
I would say a little bit. I think anytime that that you're expecting something, in this case a race or the Olympics, you're looking forward to it. You know the exact date in your head, and it's always like you're counting down. And each day you get closer to it, and then until it gets postponed for a year. But I think in my situation, it was really a blessing because I think back in February, I was already dealing with some issues with some injuries. I had shin splints, and that took me completely out of my training schedule. And to be honest, if Corona didn't develop the way it did, as bad as that sounds, then I probably wouldn't be able to race at the Olympics just because of how much pain I had. So it's nice to know also that everyone's basically still on the same playing field. You still have 1 year to get ready. It kind of resets everything, and I think that's also good for me to know that I have this extra time. So anything that I lost earlier on this year, I can always gain it back, and I always put in more effort to get back to the spot that I was at before I got injured. So it's really a blessing in disguise, so to speak.
Have you been able to race at all, or have any races? I'm not sure what how Europe is right now, but have you had a chance to have any races more recently?
No, I think my last race honestly was last year, probably. Yeah, the World Championships. Because even then I was dealing with the same issue with shin splints, and we decided at that moment to take a long break after the World Championships. And unfortunately, it came back during the early months of 2020. So unfortunately, we haven't had the luxury of having any races yet. But it's been good because I've been able to do a lot of stuff as far as rehab goes and working on my weaknesses that I just had in general that maybe have led to this injury. So it kind of rewired my brain a little bit how I saw myself as an athlete and what I was really doing in my downtime and how I could basically just improve myself. So it's really been a big eye opener for me. Even if I haven't raced at all, I think the best is still yet to come. Most definitely.
Before we wrap up this interview, I got a chance for some kind of rapid fire, get to know your questions.
Well, I'm ready.
All right. The first question is, who was your favorite athlete growing up?
My favorite athlete, Tracy McGrady.
Okay.
Tracy McGrady from the Rockets. Yeah, I think he was my favorite athlete, and ever since I saw that video of him scoring 13 points in 33 seconds, I was like, that's my dude. That's my favorite player. I had his shoes. I bought his shoes. I had everything. Like he was my favorite player, and yeah, I think he was definitely the biggest, my favorite athlete growing up.
I feel like he was so underrated back in the day. He could have been, if he didn't get hampered down by injuries, he would have been something special. That's for sure.
Oh, I agree full heartedly. He should have been what Kobe is today. That's how
Oh,
confident I am in my boy T Man.
definitely. Are you? So, what's your favorite NBA team?
NBA team. Um, that's the thing at the moment. I haven't really watched a lot of NBA in the past couple of years. I've been watching highlights and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I've seen in the bubble, I'd probably say Portland.
Okay.
I really like the grit. I think they're a great team. I think they really deserve more than what they've gotten in the past couple of years.
All right. My next question is, what's your favorite German food?
My favorite German food is probably goulash.
What's that?
Basically, it's like a yeah, it's hard to describe. It's basically imagine maybe some ham, some pickles, and mustard wrapped up in a thin slice of beef and cooked in the oven over some sauce. So it kind of puts some people off with that mustard, pickles, and ham kind of rolled up into more meat, but it's definitely something that everyone should try.
I don't know. Sounds good to me. Sounds pretty good to me. My next one is, if there was one thing you could change about yourself, what would it be?
If I change one thing, it would probably be that I wouldn't be so hard on myself. And I think that's also something that made me who I am today. And I'm happy with the person I am today. But I'm also real with myself. I know there's been a lot of times where I really gave myself more crap than I should have, or looking at past situations, maybe I kind of looked at it differently. That maybe it was more, maybe it wasn't really that bad in the moment, but in the moment, I really gave myself more issues than I needed.
So to speak, are you a perfectionist?
Yeah, pretty much. Everything has to be perfect. If not, then I get angry, I get mad, and that's just not good for me.
No worries. Next question is, what has been your last Netflix binge?
Ooh, my last Netflix binge, I would have to say Narcos. I
Okay.
haven't watched Narcos all the way through. I think I watched the first 2 or 3 seasons. There might even be four total. But yeah, I definitely watched like the first 2 seasons in under a week. That's how crazy it was.
Jeez. What do you do when you're not training or working out? What do you like to do in your free time?
What I do right at the moment is I play the guitar.
Okay.
So I actually just bought this 3 weeks ago. So I was playing the acoustic guitar before, and at some point I realized that I need something a little bit more funk. So I went out and bought this. So this has been my baby.
That's
I
awesome.
just happen to have it right next to me.
Yeah, that was definitely not planned at all. That was definitely not planned at all. Uh, so maybe the last question of my kind of my get to know you questions is, who is your biggest inspiration in your life?
Biggest inspiration is definitely my mom, and just her story in general, and what she's been through, and what she's taught me, and just everything that we've been through together. I think she is definitely my biggest inspiration and why I still run today. She was definitely my number one fan. So everything that I do, it's because of her. So she's definitely number one inspiration.
All right, let's. My last question for you is, let's say if anybody's looking at Salisbury or anybody's looking to kind of compete at that next level, what's some advice you would give them?
I would say, yeah, give Salisbury a chance. There might be other colleges, Division 1 colleges, even that you're looking at as far as athletics or maybe even academics. But I would definitely say that Salisbury is a great school. It really, made me who I am today, and I can look back on Salisbury and think of really great memories and a lot of stuff that I accomplished and a lot of stuff that I found out about myself. So, if you're thinking about it, give Salisbury a look. Take a visit, whatever you want to do, have a tour, and really consider it because a lot of these colleges don't get a lot of looks because of this Division 1 aspect and Division 2 aspect. People want to go to the state universities, things like that. But a lot of hidden treasures are the ones that you don't really see in the mainstream. So I think Salisbury would be a great choice.
All right, Luke. Thanks for taking the time for me. Thanks for talking to me. I know you're a busy man. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Good luck moving forward, and hopefully we get to talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me.